Good morning. This is Judy from Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. We do have a brick and mortar store, and we have a website where you can shop 24/7, and we have a live sale platform. I just wanted to let you know that there is still inventory on the live sale platform. You go to your app store and download Artistic Artifacts app for, doesn't matter what phone you have, as long as you can get to the app store, you can find us. And there are some kits and some rulers, and there's a video that shows our demonstrations by Chris on Thursday evening, and you can have a look at that. And then we do those, you can shop that really at any time. We call it our live sale platform, but we do a live, and then it's recorded and you can go in afterwards. So, and product's still available to purchase there for you. So we have 3 ways that you can shop with Artistic Artifacts. So it's blazing hot here in Alexandria. We've had 3 days of 100-degree weather, and I know that some of you guys in the Midwest think, oh, you poor babies. But this is, summer in Washington. And it's, July and August. This is pretty typical for us. So what that means is everybody's inside looking for things to do, which I would be also. So what we're going to talk about is Lutradur. And it's like some people who know it really love it, work with it a lot. Some people look at you and go, well, what the heck is Lutradur? Well, I found out about Lutradur from Leslie Riley, and she may have been the guru that brought it to the fabric industry, the mixed media world, and it is from a different industry. So it's a non-woven, kind of like your interfacings, and you can commonly find it in the headliner of your car and on this underneath your mattresses. So it's that piece that has done that. How Leslie figured out to use it, I'm not quite sure. That would be an interesting conversation to have with her. But it kind of came to the book artist first, I think, where it became a varying degrees. This is going to be really hard to see, but see, you can see it's a non-woven, it's a synthetic, which usually means petrol, and it has all these lacy waves and things, and it became back. Yep, does that see?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and it became a way of having a book page that wasn't quite paper and was not fabric, but it did stand up. So you can see that it's, okay, does that work better? You can see as I held it up, it did have some stiffness. So if I'm not 100% sure on this part, but I do know there are 3 weights. So what I'm thinking the weights is due to the heaviness or the density of the product. So this is 100 gram. And we sell it in the packs. I will tell you that we're probably the only place in the country you'll find it. And this is definitely thicker. So this is thick. It's a little dense. You can still see through it, like Kyle showed you on this other piece, that it's kind of wavy and has strings and stuff. But this is definitely heavier. It stays. So that's 100 grams. Then we have 70 weight, which is going to be lighter. And it is a little more, you're able to manipulate it a little bit more. And then we have 25 grams, which is the lightest, airiest one that there is.
It's like tissue paper.
It is exactly like tissue paper, and you can see let's do it this way. You can see how much you can see through there? So the density and the weight is lighter than the other ones. Okay. So these you'll find on our website, and they are there. So let's think about, how is this different from paper and fabric? Because if it wasn't different and it didn't add any attributes that were of interest to us, then, you know, why do we need it? We just use paper or fabric. So let me make sure I'm getting this in the right place. So as we showed you, it's light and airy. So this has, you can see through it, you can get some light through it. This is gonna be really hard to show you guys, but you can see there's texture, but what the main thing is I can put my hand behind it up against the light and you can see it. So that's a characteristic that we wanted to keep, that it's light and airy. The other thing is that it has texture to it. So, okay, that's different. If I wanted a solid surface, I would use paper or fabric. So let's think about how we can accentuate the light and airiness of it. So there are different ways to do that. The easiest and quickest, because of course we're all about quick, is that you can use a thin down like Dynaflow or spray. So this is a little bit heavier where it's actually been painted, but you still can see through it. I don't want to use an opaque paint on that. I want to see the airiness of it. So let me show you. This is the easiest way to do this. We just happen to have some pieces from a workshop. So you guys who work with sprays probably know this already, but it's the easiest way to make sure that the spray doesn't get all over your studio. So you have a box, you know, it can be up here high. I took one of our collage pack bags and I ripped up papers and put them on the back, because, you know, if we can color more stuff at once, that's a good thing. So this is some lightweight. I'm just going to lay it down in here. Take my stuff, because, you know, again, this is like fodder. This is like having stuff ready to go. And you layer it so it soaks up. I'm usually much more of a paint girl than I am a spray girl, but I know that sprays are very popular. So if you see, I'm containing the spray in the box, which, and these are just Delusions sprays. We used to carry them, and then they became a little more mainstream, so we have to leave some of those mainstream some places, some things for them to sell. You don't have to completely soak them, but now I've completely covered them. Because it's a synthetic, all of this stuff is going to sit on top of it, and so we can still be using it up. And then you have to leave it and let it dry completely, because any of these sprays are water activated. So if I get water on it, matte medium, soft gel, any of that, it's going to run. So you want to let it completely dry. It's one of those things like glue. It's better left overnight than to go ahead and use it. So that's how you color it. You can use like a Dynaflow, which is a very, very liquid fluid product by Jacquard. Normally we have it in stock. I just went to look. I think we're out of stock at the moment. And you can use a paintbrush and brush it, and that's what how these were done. So if you don't want it to be white, there's lots of options to color. Use some of your inks that you might have. So if you have bottled inks, try that. Just see if you can get it to move a little bit. If it's an alcohol ink, you move it with alcohol base. If you have Tutsunico all-purpose inks, you're going to be moving it with some aloe and that type of stuff. So thin them out. The idea is to keep it so you can see through it. Any questions so far?
Can you dye them?
No, they are synthetic. Now, you can't dye them with Procyon MX. You can dye them with polyester dyes. I think that's a little hard. I'm not sure that I would go to all that work. What other questions are there?
No, just people tuning in from all over the country saying hello.
Hello, hello.
June was talking about how hot it's been in Arizona.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure.
June, we've just given up on your state. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. That's just got to be hot all the time.
Ooh, Christine Citrullo is coming to Seth's class.
Oh, yes, I saw. Oh, Christine, I meant to email you, but now that I know you're here, don't you want to sign up for Friday? Friday night, and this is for you guys as well as Christine. We will have Seth in the store, and he will be in the store late in the afternoon. It's a store closes from 5 on. Only the people who have tickets to the event on Friday night will be allowed to stay in. We'll have to ask everybody else nicely to leave, but it's okay. We'll let you buy a ticket and stay. And we're going to be hanging out with Seth, talking to him, seeing him. It's been a number of years since he's been in the public, so we're ready to rock and roll. And then at 7 o'clock, we're actually going to have a lecture where Seth is going to talk to us about his creative process, how he took his original art and went to fabric, and because that's what we're all excited about is now Seth Apter's art is available in fabric, and we will have that, and something will be on sale, I'm sure. So, Christine, if you're coming, you want to come Friday too.
Leslie, if you want to be there, you just found out how to get there. No excuses from you.
Yeah, that's right. You're local.
I saw you a week ago. You better be there.
Okay.
Oh, we got one more question.
Yeah.
Back to the actual demo.
Oh, really? Okay.
Drying process. How long is the drying process? Sorry.
Okay, so I think it depends on the inks that you're using to color or whatever you're using to color your surface. But as much as I work the spur of the moment and want everything, you want to leave it. You just got to let it dry. So overnight at the earliest. A lot of times when we're using glues and things, we try to rush that process. Leave things overnight. Foil glue, adhesive glue, leave it overnight. I know it's not what you want to hear. It's not what I want to hear, but that is the best thing to do. And use materials that are going to enhance the product. So that leads me to the next thing. Sorry, I need coffee today.
It's not fair. I can't.
No, you can't. You gotta have
coffee at the same time.
All right. So, and when the time that this was launched, Leslie Riley did produce a book about Lutradur, and you might be able to find it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's probably out of print, but, the used market might be there. And it talked about printing on Lutradur with your inkjet printer. So, that was cool. I did some tests, so let me show you what I did first. There were a couple things. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is get these 8.5 by 11 labels from Staples or Office Depot. You're going to cut your Lutradur to the size of the label and stick it to the label. Okay, so, and you can use more than one. But you want to make sure that you have your edge, because that's what's going to feed this through the printer. 100 weight Lutradur probably could go through without this sticker, but the other lighter weight ones can't. You definitely want to try that. And then I would, as you saw, I took it off. I put this on. It still had some stick left. This is probably the last sheet I can find of this size. And I ran some things through the printer. This is, again, going to give you a light and airy look. So this was a picture of the glass art that is in the walkway of the Glass Museum in Tacoma. And I used that as a really great example. So there's some here. Then, and I tried different weights. And then what I did was, okay, because see, you really have to want it to be blurry and open and flowing, because it's going to print differently than if you print on fabric or paper. So again, why do we use it if we want it to be like fabric or paper? So this one, I put matte medium on it, and I just did this butterfly. That'll concise or sharpen up the colors a little bit. So, okay, that maybe is all right. Okay, this one is coated with gesso. So it gives you a different look. See, now my colors are getting a little crisper. But why am I doing that on Lutradur? Well, okay, it feels like paper, it looks like paper. So that's kind of what becomes my question, because I literally had to paintbrush gesso all over this, let it dry, put the stickers on it, and run it through my printer. It looks really nice, right? But I can do that easier on paper. So this is another one that's gesso. So that's kind of my question is it worth it to do that? Then I took this one, and it's gessoed, and it's a thicker gesso. So of course I had to wait longer for it to dry. But look at, you get these great pieces in here. But do I need that on Lutradur? So to me, that's the really big question, is what materials what do I want the effect to be, and what materials do I have to complete it the easiest? So, and then so these are all just, so I have these, I haven't quite found a place for them, but so this is where I just change the colors in the picture, which you can do in Photoshop. All right. So you can run it through a printer.
Did you say you gessoed before or after the printer?
Gessoed before, because a gesso is an opaque covering. So it's going to take away what you're using the Lutradur for. You're not going to be able to see through it. You're not going to see the texture of the paper, because gesso is used as an opaque covering. Gives you a great picture, but can I get that same picture printing on a piece of paper without having to gesso a piece of Lutradur? Do you see my question? And you might say, yeah, well, I like that look, that's what I want. But just ask the question before you get started. All right. The other thing about this product is that...
So we got one more question.
Uh-huh, sure.
Does it matter laser or inkjet printer?
Yes, inkjet.
Inkjet, got it.
Laser printers are good for some techniques that have to do with transfer, but usually a laser printer is burning toner onto your paper. And these, you don't want any more burning to occur.
Sorry, one more question. Mm-hmm. What fabric do you use for the best printing if you are not using Lutradur?
I use EQ printables, and we sell it in a couple options. There's a gazillion printable fabrics. I like cotton lawn. EQ printable gives me the clearest, crispest reproduction of a photograph that I have tested out there. So that is the one. If you want to have it be clear. And then the other thing is to also, when you set your printer up or your picture up, make it a little bit lighter, because it usually turns out darker when it's printed. So that's a different one. But EQ printables is what we sell. We sell a silk, we sell an organza, we sell the cotton lawn, and so we've tried to kind of limit it a little bit, but that's my number one go-to, is the cotton lawn. All right, so we can stamp on it after we've painted it. We can foil on it after we've painted it. We can use a soldering iron safely. So I would put a tile underneath this, and then you can use a soldering iron to get some organic burn holes in there. So when you burn a synthetic, it becomes hard. So there is a crusty hardness around these edges that would make, to me, the decision of whether you're going to cut these out or burn them out. Again, what's the result you want? This is a wood block that we stamped, and then we took a heat gun and burned out the center. So what we found out with this is that if the paint or the stamping does a little bit of a resist to the heat. And again, this is definitely hard and crunchy. When you burn that, that's what's going to happen with it.
Do you ever run it through a cutting machine?
You know what? I have not gone down that rabbit hole yet, and it would work perfectly with a cutting machine. Absolutely.
Oh boy, here's a long one. Let's see. Is there a benefit to using Lutradur over a non-fusible?
Okay. The Lutradur is not fusible. It's a synthetic product that is non-woven. So if you look at this, there's no fusible on this. It's got strands and things on it. So can you ask that question a different way? Who was that?
So this is some Catherine Eder.
Oh, Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
So I guess for years they'd used these techniques on non-fusible interfacing. Is there additional benefits to using the Lutradur?
Okay, so, okay. Oh, I got you. So, I don't know. Try it. So okay, let me see if I make sure I'm understanding Catherine's question. So we have fusibles interfacings out. We have fusible interfacing and we have non-fusible interfacing. So technically, they're all made out of polymer. They're all kind of a non-woven. You can find them as non-wovens. So if you take an interfacing that has no fusible on it, I would do a couple of tests. How does it stand up? How does it fold if you're making a book? Again, look at your result. I would say, yes, you can do the same thing with interfacings that have no fusible on them. Did I get that right, Catherine?
We'll wait and see.
Okay.
Judy Brown, if you include it in a quilt or project that might get washed, will the colors stay crisp if I heat set?
Do not use this on wash. Do not wash. Don't use something else. Don't go there. I'll show you how I used it. Nothing washable. Could go back to Catherine's comment about clothing interfacing, but I just wouldn't use this technique if it was something I wanted to wash. I would not do it. I would look at something else. Look at some of the other options that maybe will give you a better result. But it's a great question. It's one of the ones everybody wants to know. Even when I'm doing artwork, up on the wall, I tend to want to protect it from water also, but definitely do not do that. Okay, what other questions do we have?
That's it.
All right, so we talked about foil. Foil works great on this. It will, and let me show you this one again, because again, this whole heat thing is kind of interesting. So I have foil, I just did a square on this foil, and if you can see where it burned through, it's where the foil isn't. So again, if you've got some kind of surface technique on the top of this Lutradur, then it's going to resist some of the heat. So this one, this is molding paste. So let's try this one. Let me see what it does. All right, we were a little late this morning because I was all set to go, and I was like, oh, I forgot to get the extension cord. I move things just so I don't, it's just a good practice. Whether you're doing embossing or not, see how it's going? That is melting. And you can see that it is where the molding paste is resisting the heat first. Ah, this looks pretty cool. And yes, it's stinky. So probably if you can do it outside or in a well-ventilated room, it's probably better to do that.
Right as someone was asking a question about fumes.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. It is stinky. Anytime you melt synthetic, it's stinky.
Could you use stencil butter on it?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever come to the Atlanta area? 2 different people.
You know, your guild can have me come and do a lecture and a workshop. Instead of going and doing shows, that is generally what I'm looking for, are teaching gigs. I would rather do that. So talk to the area, have somebody contact me. Or
if you're in the Northern Virginia area and you want to see so someone asked a question about a class, you could email us at sales@artisticartifacts.com. We get enough requests for a class, we'll throw it up.
Absolutely. Well, not really throw it up.
Well, I mean, on the website for you to sign up for.
Okay. All right. Good questions. Good questions.
We got Catherine with another long one.
Uh-oh.
Hang on. I haven't had coffee, so I can't read. The non-fusible gives me an ethereal gossamer effect.
Okay.
Whether printing, dyeing, stamping, altering in any manner. The layering and depth is incredible, but I am always up for a new adventure. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
okay.
Well, that's great that you have figured out a product that works the way that you want it to. That is wonderful. Would you mind sharing what it is with everybody on the list, Catherine? I know that you're a sharer, so if you could tell us what you're using, that's awesome. Because that may be easier to find than Lutradur. That's okay. Experiment. What if? What if? What if I try it with this because I already have it in my drawer? That's okay. All right. Let me see. I've used transfer artist paper on this. So let me show you. So this is 25-ounce Lutradur. This is transfer artist paper. So when I do this, you can sometimes get a secondary coverage. So let me see. So that's what we did here. This is actually fabric. So if I remember correctly, imagine this window being gone. So what I did was I probably put the Lutradur on top of the fabric and then the transfer artist paper, and I wanted to see if there was anything that would pass through. And so I do have a little bit of a shadow, and this is fabric. So all of these things go together. So let me start at the beginning. I think I did this with Liz. So here's a stamped piece of Lutradur. Back. Okay. Here, this is a piece of fabric. So here's some foil. Here's where we cut it with a soldering iron or a woodworking tool, wood burning tool. There, that's the 25. This is the 70. So we did some foil. And what I loved, she did the window, so we cut through there. This is burned also. There's the transfer artist paper on 25 gram. Here's our little window. And here is on fabric. So that was a little book that we did with Liz, I'm pretty sure. Okay. All right, so burn it, paint it, cut it. Sometimes cutting is better. I know I went and used a burnout tool to cut around this flower, and it took me so long I could cut 10 of them to the one that I could do with the burnout tool. So, you know, sometimes you want to just cut it. All right, so let me show you. All right, so I showed you the 3 types of Lutradur that we have and that we sell. Some of the products, I think that you can get a watery effect to them. I said we use the sprays, we use the Dynaflow, but maybe you want it a little bit faster. So you can take a water tool with any of these products and wash it out. So when you're using gelatos, you can paint. You know, some people, I'm not sure, you can put a little bit of paint down here and take a brush with water on it and then paint it onto here. So, whereas when I do it this way, it's a little bit thicker. So we want to keep things light and airy. Okay, so gelatos will work as well. All right.
When using foil, do you put adhesive on and then the foil?
Yes. Same way you would do any foiling. So you have to have that glue that's going to pull that foil and attach it to whatever surface you're going to put it on. Yes. All right. Any other questions about techniques? Okay. Products to use, what we have. So I'm going to show you a couple of pieces that I did. These are very early pieces. So I'm also an avid vintage postcard collector. So these actually have fabric on them, so I took them and scanned them. This piece, so this is fabric. This is Lutradur, so I painted it. I ran the heat gun over it to give it some texture. And now I have that as my focal piece, and then I added some pieces to it. Okay, this is my second vintage postcard. So again, I printed them on fabric, but I used the Lutradur as an accent piece. So this is Lutradur yellow. I have the leaves here, a piece of jewelry. This is a jelly plate print, gel press print. That I then foiled. So you can see that there's some foiling. This was probably done with bone ash, which requires a lot of hot heat when you're using it with foil. But it does give you this little sparkly effect. All right, this one, wear it back. Okay, you're doing the fingers the wrong way. Hands are here. Okay. So what I started also doing was I was taking transfer artist paper, applying it to the Lutradur, and then using that as a base for my pictures on my garments. So this one is Lutradur, transfer artist paper, hand-dyed piece of vintage clothing. This is fabric paper, and then hand-dyed base. So it's multiple layers there. this is the last piece to show you here. So this one, there's Lutradur behind here. And I will tell you that this didn't work the way I wanted it to. I took this whole picture, printed it on Lutradur, and it was too dark. You couldn't see the people. It was dark. This piece moves around a lot. I took it to a lot of shows. So this is actually kind of crinkly now. So I took the picture and printed it again on paper and cut them out so that you now could see the people. And then they had this funky fish that they were doing a beach picture. And so I do some Angelina and some fresco flakes, cut out the fish tails and fins to make it a little more pronounced. So this picture printed out too dark, but of course we never throw anything out, so we just have to remake it. Vintage pearl buttons, hand-dyed trims. This is a placemat hand-dyed on it, and then some regular fabrics. Again, I do a lot of layering, and then my fish that I have here. So there. I have drawers of fish and shells and buttons and all kinds of stuff. If you watched my studio tour, I showed you a little bit of that. All right. Any last questions? Because Kyle and I need to go work at the store today with Barbara. If you're local, we have a sale going on. Finish a bolt. It's 40 off. You can buy just 5-6 yards. It's all okay. And then we have pre-cuts that we do that we consider artistic artifacts pre-cuts. They are 25% off. You can find those online at the discounted price if you're not close enough to come to the store, but we hope to see you. Chris will be the Facebook Live next week. I'm working with the Stripology ruler. Then we have Kathy Lincoln with the Foot of the Month for Bernina. And Seth is coming in September, so we're all getting ready for Seth. And we're getting ready for long arms. So we're a little nuttier than normal. So thanks for joining us today. Please stay in touch. Thank you for being part of Artistic Artifacts Creative Minds.